Hello, and welcome to the If We Knew Then podcast. I'm Stephen Socks.
And I'm Lori Socks. And today we are speaking with Vaish and her son Sid, the poet. And we're going to just talk about his new book of poetry, Flower Gills Me Whole. Just speaking with Sid is such a it's not his responsibility to teach me, but it's such a learning and awakening experience of everything, the whole journey, especially when it comes to communication, because I know that is on our minds a lot as parents and caregivers.
The things that we were told that Liam wouldn't do, and that he does. I know the things that Vaish was probably told that her son with a dual diagnosis of Down syndrome and autism wouldn't do. I mean, poetry's got to be one of the things she was told.
How is that on the, no, I don't even think it's told because I don't think
it wouldn't even be on the radar.
Because it's for a poet, that's just like saying for someone who plays basketball, you're going to be a professional basketball player. It's like, it's not something that is even explored. And this is just, I love my conversations with Sid. He's a cool kid. Right now 18, so he's a cool adult. And Vaish, I hope you enjoy this conversation, and if you can watch it, because Sid uses a letterboard to spell. So if you're only listening to it on audio, those are the pauses. We hope you enjoy this conversation as much as we did.
So please welcome poet Sid Ghosh and his mother, Dr. Vaish Sarathy. Hey, guys.
Good morning.
Good morning, H.I. Hi. And let me just keep another board so we have punctuation options.
Oh, I don't think we've seen that second board before.
Oh, so this one has punctuation kind of in here. So I just hold it like this.
Oh.
So that was
exclamation point. Hi. Well, it's so good to see you again. You kind of spurred our podcast into a consistent video option as well, because for listeners that have never listened to a episode or didn't listen to the last episode we had with you and Sid, very quickly in that episode we realized that it needed to be have at least a visual option, because to see how all this works and to see the communication a little better. So thank you for that, and thank you for just the more that your story is told, the more impact it is for so many different people, for everyone, and we're just happy that we've connected so much and got to read your new poetry book too.
Thank you, and I let Sid talk, but I just wanted to show we got the physical copies recently, so this is what it looks like. Can you guys see them somewhat?
Oh, if you put it a little closer to the camera.
It's a little blurry. There you go.
Yes.
There it is. I'm looking forward to this conversation with you guys. We were able to read some of the poems because you gave them to us ahead of time, and I love poetry, and I'm honored to be interviewing a poet, because Sid, I love your poetry, and as I was reading it, I was wondering, well, first the name of the book and what inspired this set of poems.
My Giant, my giant mind is FUL. It's full of POEMS, period. My giant mind is full of poems.
How long, Sid, have you been inspired to write poetry? Do you remember what your first inspiration was?
ITHIN. I think in POETRY. I think in poetry. So, Normal, normal, SPEE, what's that? CH. Normal speech is HARRIRDFOR period. I think in poetry, so normal speech is hard for me.
Well, feel free to answer in poems.
Yeah.
I love it.
We love it.
When did you realize that you thought in poetry or gave it that name of poetry?
NO, what's that? Not SURE, not sure. X or HAR, what's that? Hard to REMEMBE, hard to remember, period. You mean this is hard to remember, option 1, or generally things are hard to remember, option 2? This is hard to remember. Because Sid has said in the past that he doesn't store memories the way everybody does. So generally, sometimes things are hard to remember.
You have a poem about that your mind takes no hostages. I love that. I love that line.
Mm-hmm.
So many stick out in my mind, but there was one about there's one God and mittens have no fingers, and these are all truths, or something like that.
Yeah, I remember that.
And some of your poetry is related spiritually. Do you have
an overall theme
an
for
overall
the book?
theme? Yeah.
MOST, most, RIVERS, said most rivers, HAV, have, CURRENTS, period. Most rivers have currents. What's that? So do I, period. So does that mean that are you saying a current like a theme of your life? Is that on a scale of 0 to 9? Is that 9? Okay.
Yeah.
How long did it take you to write this book of poems?
QUIT, quite a WHILE, quite a while. I can say that the first 2 poems were written in 2020, I think.
The first 2 books?
The first 2 poems.
Poems.
Oh, poems, yes.
The first 2 poems. So it's kind of a collection of poems that spans at least 4 years.
Oh, I see. Yes, yes. So some you gathered from just like a daily poetry writings, and then did you have sessions where you sat down too and to actually work on the book solely?
No, ALL, all were maybe my PRACTICE, period, done. All were my practice. By practice, do you mean like a practice, like a daily practice, like a ritual, or do you mean like you were practicing poetry? Option 1 or option 2? Option 1. So daily and weekly practice of writing. Yeah.
I thought he was making a joke saying that they were just his
Practice?
woke up this way kind of situation.
Yeah. I only wear this when I don't care what I look like. That kind of.
Do you have any favorites in this book?
INT T E R S T I, what's that? C E S. Interstices, and I think that's on page, because he had mentioned this before, so I looked at the page, maybe 48.
Interstices. Oh,
Yeah,
there it is.
it's right here. Bent into childhood. Would you like to read that, Vaish?
Yeah. So the poem is called Interstices. Bent into childhood, I've tethered my soul to infinity. Ether either is, or between the knots I am, and the knots are spelled N-O-T-S.
For daily practice, does Sid use? Sid, do you use a keyboard? Is that how you do it, or is it the way we're seeing communication now?
This way. So what you're seeing right now.
And then you'll write them down and to log.
So I function as like a communication partner and a scribe.
Sure.
And he also has a weekly practice where he works with a poet. His name is Chris Martin, and so so that's a weekly thing, and it's not always daily, but it's like a few times a week that Sid and he likes to go out because I think it's hard to think beyond the box sitting so we usually go to like a different coffee shop every time, and which is easy to do in Portland.
Yes.
Yeah, coffee
Oh,
shops
yeah,
are great
all
for
over.
writing poetry.
I have really no experience writing poetry except for when we were kind of instructed in elementary school, like the form of poetries and how to write different ones. Do you come up with? Is it I have a title and then I write the poem about that, or is it I have thoughts and write the poetry and then later go back and put a title?
T-I-T-L, title, L-A-S-T, title last.
So if this is one of your favorite poems, can we discuss it?
S-U-R-E. That's a rare answer from Sid, because we always try to discuss his poetry after he writes them, and he always says no.
Oh, I
Well,
appreciate
I am
it.
honored. I'm the opposite. I was lit theater, so I love poetry. I love poetry, and just the imagery and the words that you've chosen. It's really beautiful. But I want to hear from you. I've never had the experience of being able to talk to the actual poet. What was the inspiration behind this poem?
H-A-L-F. Half of my L-I-F-E. Half of my life is S-P-E-N, is spent in the GAPS, in the gaps, TH, that, NTS. NTS is neurotypicals in Sid's language.
Oh, good. Okay.
Half of my life is spent in the gaps that neurotypicals, L-E-A-V-E, that neurotypicals leave.
Mm.
So those are the interstices, those gaps.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So I usually give an interpretation, try an interpretation, and then he rates it from 0 to 9. It's like 0 is like I got it completely wrong, and 9 is I got it right. So he gave me a 7, so something like that.
Okay.
When you say the gaps that the neurotypicals leave, do you mean that there's gaps that, like, I find, with Liam, our son, when I'm in his school and we're talking about education or fighting for his education because he's still in public school, sometimes I look around and I see that neurotypical students will take so much for granted. Like just like what Liam fights for, his place in a classroom, or to be taught a lesson, or to be seen in some cases, or given an opportunity, whether it be an opportunity to thrive or to fail. A lot of the neurotypical students don't even have to think about that. And it's taken, and what I felt this year was how it's really taken for granted. So do you mean when you say the gaps that they leave, do you mean that like when there's a party and then people leave that party and there's stuff still hanging on the wall or half-eaten plates or, you know, dishes that need to be washed, that kind of feel, something that they leave behind, or a place that they exit from? Or have I missed, or is it neither?
What's that? MADNES. Madness. NEEDS. Madness needs SPACE. Madness needs space. PHE. Madness needs space. The sane too. MUCH period. Madness needs space. The sane take up too much.
And who are you referring to when you say the sane?
And entities, yeah. So Sid's been trying to reclaim the word mad.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. No, I love it. No, I didn't want to assume that I knew what was being said. I would never think so. That's the space that they leave behind for. And how do you feel about that space?
SOFREEIN. So freeing to be MAD. So freeing to be mad.
Sid, could you define when you take the word mad and you're using that, would you define the way you use that word?
I'm also quickly looking for a poem that ends in have demons or leave me alone. And I'm trying to quickly, oh, there it is. It's page 66. And it's called Go So Far That Life Stops. Could I read it?
Yes, please.
So, and then we can check with Sid about your question. So the poem is called Go So Far That Life Stops. Madness is my inner strength. Half man, total mad. Tomorrow is still Tuesday. To not be mad is a crime against me. Have demons or leave me alone.
I'm gonna defer to you instead of like interpreting. I'm gonna defer to you.
You asked a question, right? I forgot what that was. Do you want to repeat that?
What's your definition of mad?
LETTING. Let's get a little more leverage. Letting. GO. Letting go. Letting go. That's it.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm holding like two poems in my brain, and there's also another one because there was one that you when asked to define the word queer, that also talks about freedom. So there's a lot of freedom. I want to go back because this poem, when you're talking about space and you're talking about have demons or leave me alone. When I go back to interstices, you say ether either is or between. Is that like you're talking about the space? And then you say the knots I am, and it's spelled NOTS. I love the insight to your feelings, Sid, and I love your honesty because it's very powerful. And I feel like these are things that are attributed to individuals who have a disability or a diagnosis. I feel like these are things I know that, and I can only come from the experience that we have with our son, is that there's a bit of There's a bit of tokenism, and there's a lot of just dismissing the wholeness of the person. And I feel like the poems that that I've read from this book are speaking out about the wholeness of you. And again, Emma, is that a 0 or 9?
If you want to go to the number board, you can go here.
or your experience. I just love that. I just love that ether either is or between the knots I am. And again, it's the like, is that the knots that like people have imposed upon you, or the knots that you've heard? Like, that's a really, really beautiful.
SADNESS. Sadness is ANOT. Sadness is a knot, NOT. NEED. Need for PERFECTIO. Need for perfection is ANOT, is a knot. LIFE, life. EXISTS, life exists. BETWE, between. THE, life exists between the NOTS, period. Okay, so sadness is a knot. I think he said need for perfection is a knot. And life exists between the knots.
Life exists between sadness and the need for perfection. Can you define, can you define sadness in that context? The sadness that you feel, or the sadness that's not? Because we're also going in the context of NOT, knots.
SOFREEIN. So freeing to, I think that's B, like BE. So freeing to be. HAPP. Happy in DISABLE. So freeing to be happy in disability. So maybe my interpretation is that living a life with disability is between the knots. Let's get a, is that what you specifically meant? Of between the knots of like people being sad that they have a child with a disability and people feeling the need for having perfect children. Is that what you mean, being between the knots? Yeah, he said 9.
Okay.
So being between the knots, could you paraphrase that again for me, Vaish? Being between the knots.
I think so. From what I gather from this like immediate conversation is that he said sadness is a knot, and then the need for perfection is a knot. And I think what he was saying is specifically with the lens of being like a parent of a child with a disability. So many are sad that there's so much sadness and grief associated with parenting sometimes, like, oh my God, why did this happen to me, kind of thing. And also a need for perfection in your child. I think that's perhaps, so I'm really extrapolating here, but that's maybe where the grief is coming from. It's that you need like this perfect child with perfect SAT scores, right? So, and between that is the life of a person with disability. And then he said it's so freeing to be happy, maybe.
To be happy and disability.
Yeah. So that life, that specific disabled life is between the knots.
And that kind of goes back to our last conversation when we last had you on about
Pride.
Pride. Yeah, disability pride.
And this is what I love about poetry, because Sid, I was thinking that this was personally your experience of the knots that you experience from other people, like the limits that they might put on with their perception of your ability, that your experience was the sadness or the need for perfection, like feeling those two things. I wouldn't have thought that that you're speaking about parenthood and what inspired that. Because I also think that as a parent, for you to say that to be happy in disability, to have disability pride is freeing. That's going to sit for a while. Like that's from you just saying, hey, you're living it. And then parents, although we're so connected, have this other facilitating advocacy role that we're playing, but it obviously impacts you.
When disability is a weight on shoulders, when you convert that into a prideful thing, it is freeing.
RECENTLY was at ACONF. Okay, I can expand that to conference, which is because it was just last week and I'm just word filling there. So
Sure.
we can. Recently was at a conference. ISA saw MOTHE mothers in GREIF, mothers in grief. What's that? T or period? Period. Yeah, we were at the Down Syndrome National Congress. I think I was giving a talk, and we had attended a previous talk where one of the presenters was talking about their grief and self-care. I mean, it was a very honest conversation. It was just whatever their experience was. But I noticed that it triggered. So one of the cool things about the letterboard is that you can kind of chat while other people are.
Oh, sure. Yeah.
So, but Sid said, I have to leave right now. So we ended up having to leave the room. It was a perfectly nice, I mean, like there's nothing wrong about the presentation, but I think it causes him some discomfort when parents talk about grief and yeah.
I'm right. We went to the conference a couple years ago and Sid, I felt the same way. And I think that there's just a narrative that has been propagated for a really long time. And, we created this podcast because the narrative, however it started, and then it's just fed from the diagnosis and the way that society just shifts with this diagnosis. And to me, my son has an extra chromosome. He also has brown eyes, and that's exactly how I see that chromosome. And what I've learned is the challenges come from misperceptions and from prejudices and from society's archaic beliefs that keep getting propagated. And they keep getting propagated in a school system that doesn't educate in so many different ways. And I felt like I think I had to leave as well, because I feel, and my experience, because I don't want to negate anybody's experience.
Yeah.
So we have a daughter, and we have challenges with our daughter, and we advocate for her, but it's not called advocating. It's called parenting, right? And so with our son, though, there's this label, and there's so many. I get really, really sad. Sometimes I'll go on like social media and I read different boards just because I want to, like, if somebody needs, like, has a worry or a concern. And sometimes I just feel so defeated because those stories are continually propagated. The challenges become the focuses, not the wins, right? And And it just, I sometimes feel like I'm spinning my wheels
Well, and
because,
also some of your positive like thoughts toward those experiences are kind of negated, like where it's just they just comes back with more sadness and more grief.
and I get it. I here's the thing. I'm not like new to life can be like I was raised like I was given up for adoption when I was 4. I lived like through the system. I know that and I'm neurotypical. My life was really, really challenging. And I think, and I always am really thankful that that was my life. Because when people started to put these things on my son, I was like, you don't tell me his value. You don't tell me what he will be or become. Nobody can do that. Our story is not what's propagated. Some other narrative is propagated. And it just makes me really sad because I think that that does impact the narrative and it impacts the path. So you and the joy and the celebration is taken away, and it breaks my heart when I hear it, because I'm like, I think of the child, I think of the student, and I'm like, man, just celebrate and love and be present and offer the supports, and that life, like the life is equal. The life, the child, the student, the journey, it's equal. And
life is hard. Life is hard, but disability is a bright spot in our lives. Really.
Right? It's not, and it just, so I completely understand that. And, you know, like Liam graduated and there was not one, like nobody acknowledged the fact that Liam has fought for his education, that he has showed up and done the work against challenges. I honestly felt Liam should have been one of the speakers.
Absolutely. I went to my daughter's middle school graduation, even though, I mean, it's not a real graduation, but she was this year. She graduated out of middle school, eighth grade. And there was one girl with Down syndrome. And they kind of brought her up in the beginning and kind of got her done with almost so that the other kids could come but again, it was like, she should be the centerpiece. Like she is like, otherwise, like my husband says that neurotypicals graduating is water flowing downhill. You should be celebrating people that are struggling upstream in the system. So why are we celebrating things that are going downstream? So there's nothing to celebrate, right? So
Yes.
And also, like, I mean,
I'm right with him.
I no 100%, because I realize that they chose. I'm not judging anyone. I know. I get it.
I'm judging, Gloria.
I can just say like, okay, I get it. I know why this happens. And the speakers, like I could see, but there was one element that I was just like, why is this celebrated? Why is this celebrated? And to like, Liam is still on curriculum. He's getting great grades. He's overcome prejudice of a few teachers. Like he's in that school, not only like in his lifetime of pursuing an education. And I was just like, however it came, he should have at least said a few words. And that school is about inclusion. How do you not celebrate the individual who has fought to be educated and has actually received something that at birth, like 10 days in, they were like, take it off the table. He's not graduating anything. And I didn't understand that. I'm just like, you guys, I'm like, do you not understand? You have a school that's about inclusion, and there was this beautiful gift that passed right past you, and you were like, okay. And you didn't even look at it, and you didn't even hold it up to be celebrated. Like, I'm just like, you guys, like, like to me, it was, and I feel that for you, Sid, sitting in a room, you are a poet, you are brilliant, you are a profound,
insightful,
and a profound communicator.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, you're a good human. And for you to be in a room, like if you would have come into my life when my son was first born and I was getting all of this nonsense said to me, I would have been like, that would have been my first light bulb to go. Even that, like I had a light bulb that said, you're wrong. But that was fully like
Oh, just you.
It was so like self-propagated. Like I was like, I don't trust anybody who gives me that many no's over a blank sheet that is just like full of potential.
Yeah.
And if I would have met you or seen you or heard your story, I would have been like, first of all, loving poetry. I would have been like, my son can be a poet. Like I didn't was so far off the list. Like to be a poet. And here you are, like knocking down another silly boundary. So I want to say, I'm sorry that you experienced that. I'm so proud of your, what is it, Vaish? What am I trying to say? Like that thing of, yeah, I'm out. Do you know what I mean? Like
Yeah,
that, not
I know he was,
maybe
I,
worth.
yeah, based walking out, I was like, this is a 1.5 hour presentation. We've 15 minutes in. It's really rude. It's a small room. We can't. And then they started talking about self-care, which is fine. But a lot of times the reason they were talking about self-care is because they were experiencing grief. So they and this was anyway, but and then Sid spells, I need to leave now. And then another 10 minutes later, there's more about like the many impairments that our children face. And he's like, are you leaving or should I leave alone? I was like, okay, let's stage a walk.
Yes. All right. Well, but you know what? And this is something that I think we've discussed this, Vaish. This is something that gets by us as parents because we are, first of all, some of the gifts that I get from my son is patience, right? That's one of the big ones that I've learned from Liam. Not because I have to have patience, but from Liam, because Liam is so patient
He's
with
patient.
me. You know what's rude? Standing in front of Sid and telling Sid what a challenge and how distraught that his extra chromosome, like the weight of it. Like I get self-care. We advocate for self-care, but we advocate for self-care for all parents to just like take a minute and take a breath. And my self-care is more like, hey, if you're in an IEP and someone says this horrible thing about your child, like take care of yourself, right? Yeah. And I think as parents, regardless, and as advocates,
as caregivers,
but it doesn't have, to me, it's not about. It's never been grief. Like I would get so mad, and I understand words mean different things to different people, and I understand people need a word to put to what they're feeling. I feel grief is the wrong word. I just do, because grief holds so many other things. Like it just has a weight. You know, as a poet, Sid, the power of words, right? So I think, and I don't want anybody to say, you know, that I'm judging their process or any of that, because I'm not. I get it, but I feel like we in life across the board, and I say this to my daughter, what words are you using? Where did they come from? And whose words are you repeating? Because it's like concern.
Yeah.
Concerned that my son will be accepted in a non-inclusive society. That's real. That's a real thing, but that's not a chromosome. That's society, right? And I feel like standing in front of Sid and having those and saying those things, that's bad manners.
Yes. Well, because the self-care for a caregiver is, and it's right, it's not grief, but the self-care comes from what you're getting from school system or the society, not from your child with disability. It's from like other people's maybe reaction to the disability.
Yeah, it's not, you're right, exactly, Stephen. It's not from the disability, it's from how the world is treating your child with a disability. Yeah, that's where you need self-care. Yeah.
But that's the conversation that I think that as a community, that's the conversation that we need to be having, because that's where the pain and the reason why I need to take a break sometimes is that I have to step away because it's not my reality.
Well, because it tries to put the adjustments or the fixings on your child when the fixings and adjustments need to be societal. It needs
Exactly.
to be, right?
So bravo to you. So that's what you're talking about, the grief. And yeah, Sid, I think that the it's freeing to just, I can actually confirm that it's freeing to just
live in
the happy
between the
I
gaps
love the
of
happy
the knots.
and to be in between the gaps. I do love in this, I'm so sorry, but I'm kind of a poetry nerd. Like I totally geeking out. Is that okay to say? But I love the first sentence of interstices, bent into childhood. That's beautiful, but but like as all poetry, my interpretation of it. Can you tell me about that sentence? Bent into childhood, I have tethered my soul to infinity.
G-E-T-T. Getting. A-L-I-F. Life. Is. H-A. Is hard. For. M-A-T-U-R. For mature. S-O-U-L-S. Getting a life is hard for mature souls. I think he's talking from a spiritual perspective of slipping into a lifetime.
So you're saying getting a life is hard for mature souls. So is that speaking on that you were bent into childhood because that's a challenge as a mature soul? Or is that about that you have tethered your soul to infinity?
Option one or option two or neither. One.
I love that you're responding in poetry because we could write all these down for another book. It's, when I read your poetry, it really does change my perspective in so many ways. Vaish, how has Sid's poetry affected you and your husband? Because I know there was a time that you weren't communicating this way, and we've talked about that. How has not just the communication, but how has Sid's poetry affected you personally?
I think it is brought, like in our last episode that we had when we were talking about disability pride, we talked a lot about nuance of language. And if, as you may have already noticed when you're talking to Sid, is that a question isn't answered in a straightforward fashion. It's answered in another kind of like a koan or another sentence that could have multiple meanings. And we're kind of sifting through meaning. So there isn't like hard questions and hard answers that you get usually when you're speaking with Sid. So, and it's been a source of endless frustration is like, what do you mean? And then the answer is something like, well, I'm bent into childhood. Like I have to continuously interpret and get, that's why I use the number board so I can get a hard answer is like yes or no. So it's built this nuance in me that didn't exist because I was like raised in a very academic fashion. I still teach math and science and I'm very binary. And I used to be, but being Sid's communication partner and seeing language through that filter, not even a filter, just seeing language as Sid generates it, um, is, it, I think, has helped me understand disability, like everything, and has helped me develop nuance in my understanding of disability. So nuance would be like the one thing that I've learned, and I've learned that a word can have multiple meanings, and something somebody says can have multiple meanings, and different things can be true at the same time.
When you talk about having a binary brain, those yes and nos are very comfortable for you.
Yeah, yeah.
Yeah, and so it's kind of expanding. It's mind expanding, soul expanding to think outside of that way.
Yes. And sometimes, like if I want to ask Sid what he wants for lunch, or if this is okay for lunch, I don't even bring the letterboard because like I need to know what to cook. So the number board's where we are. So
You can't say my soul is bent into infinity
Into
for
a tuna fish sandwich.
Yeah.
You could, I guess. But you know,
Yes.
that reminds me, and it brings to light that I think in life, and again, this is a gift that I've been torn out of the mundane because of Liam. I've been torn out of predictability, any kind of like construct that would be something, like I said, like sometimes people take it for granted, like this A, then B, then C, then D, and in some ways that's comfort. That brings comfort, honestly, to
Linearity, right?
that's the word. Oh my goodness. Yes, words.
We
Linearity.
need the mathematician to define.
Yeah. So the linear path, like I've been torn from that, and not in a bad way, like freed from it. Like Sid says, like it's very freeing, because what I feel like Liam has brought to my life is what I've really worked to do anyway, and that's to be present in that moment. Because I've always been taught, that's the moment in front of you. That's where you make the changes. That's where you create your life. That's where you be present there, because that's where life is, right in front of you in the moment. And I think the momentum of life can pull us from that moment, because the way the linear is this, and you're, that question, what are you going to be doing in 5 years? I'm like, I honestly answer that now. Like, I'm working on 5 minutes. I'll tell you in 5 minutes. What, you know what I mean? And I think the gift of this journey is that presence, and it is, Sid, you're 100%. It's so freeing from anything we thought life was supposed to be. So freeing from what because people will try to tell you what life is, but really has like bottomed me into that I do create my experience and my reaction to things by being 100% present. And that was that is the gift of Liam has brought to my life. And no, like, that's to be celebrated. That nobody told me about that. Like, here's a shortcut to really being present in your life, and to have strength and courage, and find your voice, and the courage to use your voice, and love and empathy. But when I'm watching you with the board, what I am reminded of is, because sometimes, like you said, you're going to take a shortcut to a word. Like, as Sid is spelling different words, sometimes we can finish the word in our brain, because that's what our brain does, right? And the one thing that I've been taught about for Liam is, don't finish his words, because that's rude. Like, not you, because you knew where that was going because of the conference, but like, I'm reminded how important it is, for Sid can speak for himself.
Yeah, and I think that's a very important topic that you brought up, because even though, and as I was finishing that word conference, my intention was to give him a little bit of a motor break, so he gets, because it's a long word and it doesn't mean anything. There's no nuance in the word conference, but usually, I would say more than 99% of the time, I never finish his words. I never, even if it's something very mundane like this or that, I don't, because you never know where the THE could take you next, because especially with Sid, like, that could be any word. I don't know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sometimes it's tether. Sometimes I don't know what it is. So I don't, he uses the words tether and untethered sometimes. Well, he used that here too, right? I tethered myself to infinity. Did he say that?
Yes.
Yeah.
My soul. Yeah.
But that's something that is very enticing, to finish a word so that we can get going on our path, so that we can move ahead linearly to the next step. Let me finish your words for you so we can keep moving. And one of the biggest learnings coming back, I said nuance, but also non-linearity, is if, as a parent or an educator working with a child with a disability, if we have not learned non-linearity, then we will not be able to experience pride or happiness, because once we accept non-linearity, that's where the grief stops. So you can weave between the knots, I suppose. I don't know, but because grief comes from linear expectations. When will my child go to college? What will he do in college? What after college? Is he going to get a girlfriend? Is he going to get married? Then what? What will he do after I'm gone? So linearity is the source. Linear thinking, I think, may be the source of grief.
That would be a very helpful topic, 100% at the next conference. I just really do. And I wasn't saying, I was just really, as I was watching what you were doing, and I just wanted to I wanted to make sure I said, I didn't mean when you said conference.
No, I got it. Yeah.
That. That's where I need to be with Liam's expressive language, with him talking, like how frustrating it must be, because Liam gets people all the time finishing his sentences.
Mm-hmm.
And that must be very, very frustrating for him.
Yeah.
Right. And that can make somebody, I mean, I don't know, Sid, but can that make somebody just stop trying to communicate when people are always trying to finish their sentences?
MOSTANNOY. What's that? Most annoying. Yeah, most annoying.
Yeah, so that's something that, like, as parents, I know that, like, Liam's expressive language, and now it's more like motor, um, but I see that on the boards too, like that frustration because people want this, that, and just being present and like supporting, just supporting, and it's hard sometimes because I mean I think we do it with each other where it's like trying to anticipate what someone wants so we can just do it and like to just settle in the moment. And I know that this is like taxing because we've been talking for an hour, but there's just two poems that I want to talk about. And I'm hoping that if you did a book on tape, Vaish, would you do the narration of the poems, or what would you?
Do they do poetry books on tape? I suppose.
Yeah, you can even
guess you
like do
could.
like you could read it and do kind of this like a poetry reading because these are so beautiful. But Hope,
It won't be
was-
me. Yeah, it won't be somebody, but not me.
Hope was one on page
84.
Yes, Hope.
Do you want me to read it?
Yeah, because I love your voice and you're reading your son's poetry. I love it.
Another day, tearing steeds off my mind toward the remnants of love. I'll say that again. Another day, tearing steeds off my mind toward the remnants of love.
They're just all so beautiful. I love Are We Really Free?
Which one's that?
Are We Really Free? But I mean, I love them all, but some like just really.
Oh, the last one, that's 98. Yeah.
And before that is When Asked to Define the Word Queer.
Yeah, he says to be so free that it scares you. This, I can share some context. This was when Sid was presenting to a English lit class or something like that at a certain college. Maybe it was Carleton. And there, because he uses the word queer so much, one of the students asked him, "What do you mean by queer?" And then he said, "To be so free that it scares you."
That was your definition, Sid, on our last podcast together too.
And
I remember that.
on 96, God.
God, what can be measured is never real.
And
It's so neat to have, like, I think of, like, because I'm more of that linear brain, Vaish, and I feel maybe Liam is too. He's a very yes, no, I'll do this, then that, then this, and that. Like, he actually likes to have it lined up in an itinerary for things. But
is that because of the construct that's been placed upon him, or
possibly,
what? You know what I mean?
But the combination, the interaction between linear brains and nonlinear brains are so beautiful. My, like, when I read these poems, my brain I go, oh, I'm really pushing it here. I'm really trying to think of all these things and what it could mean, and it makes, I almost feel my brain expand. Like, I have to think so left to right out of what is so forward to me. Like, if we're talking mathematically or scientifically, I feel more straightforward and I'm moving, and I really reach, and it's so good for me, but it is a little bit uncomfortable. Like, it's like a workout.
Good.
Yeah, it's great.
It's not. That's good. That's
I mean,
really
I like
good.
to work out in a linear way too, because it's hard and I'm moving forward. But in my mind I'm moving forward.
Yeah.
I don't know if that makes any sense.
It does make sense. And I mean, like, it's the same way for me. I'm only understanding these poems because I was, even if tangentially involved in the writing process, even if all I did was hold the board, I was there. So I kind of saw the way that the poems would unfold. But I'm always very scared of sharing these poems to, like, doing a book reading or anything, because at the beginning, like, the first thing many people will say that I have no idea what he's talking about. And that's kind of a hard place to move from, right? So it's
Mm-hmm.
because most people end up being linear thinkers. And I'll say, I don't think Sid cares, but I feel a little bit like I don't think these poems are meant to have an idea of what you're talking about. It's just like, it's, I don't know what it is. It's just is maybe.
I feel like if someone said, I have no idea what he's talking about, I would probably answer that with probably.
Yeah, maybe I should learn a few answers. I'm going to say that next time.
Maybe, but I'm sorry. You can't, like, I'm sorry. I don't know. Sorry, because, like, I don't think, and then this is just my experience with poetry, is that, first of all, art is interpreted by your perception. Like, everybody, like, when I read your poems, they hit me in a certain place. I will tell you, your poems make me feel joy. They make me just feel like the the things I celebrate in life are everything that can be found in poetry because there's freedom. It's nonlinear. It's like to the core. It just like hits to the core, and it makes you think. Like, if someone says, I don't know what, but that's not the thing. It's not about trying to figure out what Sid's saying, although I love to hear. And usually it's like, oh, that's where it came from. Because that's what poetry is. This is what you feel and you create in such a beautiful, concise way. And if somebody will just sit in a poem, it's not about just reading every poem in a row. It's about if you just sit in that moment, it's not about knowing what Sid thinks. It's about, what do you feel?
Yes.
What do you feel when someone says, I exist between the knots, NOTS? What does that make you feel? What does that make you want to question? What does that allow you to see? And that's the gift of poetry. That's the gift of art. And I am a firm believer that it's the artists in the world. Like, those are the stories that get retold. Those are the ones that, like, capture. Sid, you capture a feeling. You make people feel. I don't think we feel enough in this world. I don't think we feel enough in this life. And to be able to, if someone wants to then ask you from your lens, what does that mean? That like, what does that mean to you? What inspired you to write that? Then that's like a gift. And I feel like I feel like I've always like, I don't feel like I've ever like hit the definition of like, oh, well, this is what it was. But Sylvia Plath, even, she said she had an experience that she spoke of. Sylvia Plath, who was a poet, and she was like, she had done this drawing and somebody like walked over, and knowing that she was like, as a kid, that like came from like this artistic place, and they were like, oh, and they just poured all of this definition onto her art. And she was like, it was just this, like, it was just this. And I can't remember exactly but it was like, she just drew something and then other people felt something.
Yeah.
And it wasn't what she drew, but still, because she's an artist, she could reach into their untethered soul.
I think that is the job of art, right? I mean, like, if you know right away what someone's talking about, maybe we need to rethink that.
Yes.
Right.
Yes.
But I do, go ahead.
There's also a melody to words, and that's what I feel, I mean, like, I always think of like Elton John took poetry and put it to music. It wasn't his words. And if you break down those words, I mean,
they're beautiful. It's poetry.
It's poetry. You try to understand the lyrics to his songs. I mean,
but they hit you someplace, right? They hit you someplace.
But the way they're put together was a whole rhythm. And then he, had his music help us probably feel that rhythm more. But words can have a meaning in so many different ways, like literally and also emotionally.
And no one would dare go to Sir Elton and be like, I don't know what you're talking about. You think no one.
No, they're just trying to figure it out.
I do love, and I think this is very profound, and then I'll let you guys be on, but we certainly will, WELL, will, apostrophe, so worlds. And I just love.
Certainly we will so worlds.
But it's will.
Like
W-E.
we will.
I always have
Which one's that? Page?
95.
Oh, 95.
Oh.
Okay.
Yeah. Certainly will so worlds. Yeah. It says certainly will so worlds, SEW. May be he, my, feel like me. And I remember after this poem, I kept telling Sid, do you mean may? Do you mean he may feel like me? And he said, no, my. I was like, I don't know what that is. I feel like it should be may. And he said, no.
Oh,
man.
Sid, thank you for being so patient. Thank you for like your words. I love your poetry, Sid. It's so beautiful, and it just like it awakens my soul. It brings me joy to sit in a chair and to be able to read these and reread them and to feel something that I wasn't feeling before I started to read them. Is there anything else that you want to share or say or?
LOVEYO. Love you. BOTH. Period. Love you both.
We love you, and we love you both. I always hate saying goodbye, but until next time, I guess.
Yeah.
Bye-bye. Please follow us on Twitter at If We Knew Then Pod, and you can drop us a line on our Facebook page at If We Knew Then Pod, or visit our website, ifweknewthen.com, to send us an email with questions and comments. And you can join our mailing list there and get alerts of future podcast episodes. All these links will be added to this episode's show notes. Thank you again, and we look forward to you joining us on the next episode of If We Knew Then.